Judge Harold Whitmore had never encountered such a situation in his 20-year career. The elderly man at the witness stand quietly removed his Medal of Honor and placed it on the table. The courtroom was so silent that the sound of the medal hitting the wooden table echoed. But the judge had no idea what was happening behind the scenes until those doors opened and a full-dress uniformed admiral walked in. Today I'll share with you the story of a hero who remained silent in the face of injustice and the brothers who defended him. Before the video begins, please let me know in the comments which city you're watching from, and if you believe stories like this need to be told, please subscribe. Pine Valley Courthouse was a small-town court. It usually dealt with traffic violations, petty theft cases, and property disputes. But that Tuesday morning, the courtroom was more packed than it had ever been, because the man who would take the witness stand was extraordinary. Judge Harold Whitmore had arrived early to review the files. At 52, he was a disciplined, rule-oriented man. There was no room for sentimentality in his courtroom, only law. At least, that's what he thought. When court opened at 9:00 a.m., Joseph Emory quietly entered. He was 78 years old, pale-skinned, walking with a slight limp. He wore an old but clean navy blazer, and on his chest, over his heart, a silver medal gleamed. The room stirred with whispers. Most people had never seen a Medal of Honor, America's highest military decoration, awarded only to soldiers who showed extraordinary courage in combat. It sat on Joseph's chest with all its weight, history, and honor. Judge Whitmore reviewed the case. It was a simple property dispute. Joseph's neighbor had raised a conflict about the boundary between their properties. Joseph's testimony was needed. "Mr. Emory," the judge said, "please take the witness stand." Joseph slowly stood up. Each step carried the weariness of years. He sat at the witness stand, placed his hands on his knees, and waited for the judge. That's when Judge Whitmore said those words, made the biggest mistake of his career. "Before you begin your testimony, remove that medal. This is a courtroom, not a parade ground." The room froze. No one was breathing. Joseph's expression didn't change. He simply stood up slowly, opened the pin of the Medal of Honor with trembling hands, and placed it on the wooden table beside the witness stand. The sound of the medal hitting the table echoed in the courtroom's silence. That sound was like 40 years of service, sacrifice, and honor falling to the ground. Joseph sat back down, his hands in his lap, his eyes distant, as if he wasn't in that courtroom but somewhere far away, in the mud of Vietnam. Judge Whitmore continued with the case. He asked questions, received answers, but the atmosphere in the room had changed. People were uncomfortable. Some looked at Joseph, others at the judge. No one knew what to think. Joseph quietly gave his testimony. He told everything he knew about the boundary dispute. His voice was monotone, emotionless, as if his soul had left his body. The testimony ended. Joseph was preparing to leave when the courtroom doors opened. The man who entered caught everyone's attention. Navy uniform, full dress, rows of medals on his chest, captain's stripes, and on his shoulder, admiral's rank. Admiral Thomas Richardson quietly walked through the center of the courtroom. His steps were determined, his posture perfect. He didn't make eye contact with anyone, but everyone watched him. When he reached the judge, he stopped. He held a sealed envelope in his hand. "Your Honor," said Admiral Richardson, "a document from the Department of Defense." Judge Whitmore took the envelope. He broke the seal and read the document. As he read, his expression changed. Surprise, then concern, then fear. "In light of this document," the judge said, his voice trembling, "all charges against Joseph Emory are dismissed. This case is classified as a matter of national security." The admiral approached Joseph. He knelt before the elderly man and picked up the Medal of Honor. "Commander," he said, "I apologize." The word commander shook the room. Joseph was a commander? This old, quiet man? Joseph stood up. The admiral pinned the medal to his chest. At that moment, the old man's posture changed. His shoulders straightened, his head lifted. It was as if years had been erased in an instant. "Thank you, Admiral," Joseph said. For the first time, his voice was strong. The admiral stood and saluted Joseph. Then he turned and addressed the room. "Ladies and gentlemen, Before you stands one of the greatest heroes of the Vietnam War. Commander Joseph Emory earned his Medal of Honor in 1971 in an operation where he single-handedly saved 23 comrades. He remained behind enemy lines for 72 hours, was wounded, but never gave up. The room erupted in standing applause, but Joseph wasn't looking at the applause. His eyes were focused on Judge Whitmore. The Admiral continued. Commander Emory chose to live a quiet life after retirement. He never gave interviews, never made speeches, but today, the disrespect shown in this courtroom is intolerable. Judge Whitmore tried to stand, but the Admiral raised his hand to stop him. Your Honor, the Admiral said, today you have disrespected not just a veteran, but one of America's most precious heroes. The consequences of this behavior will reflect back to you. At that moment, a voice rose from the back of the room. Sir! Everyone turned. There stood a young man. He was wearing a Navy SEAL uniform. Permission to speak, sir, the young man said. The Admiral nodded. Of course. The young man stepped forward. My name is Captain Michael Torres. I'm also a Medal of Honor recipient. I earned it in Afghanistan. Silence fell over the room again. I know Commander Emory, Torres continued. He is my mentor. He taught me what it means to serve, and if anyone disrespects him, I take it personally. Torres turned toward Judge Whitmore. Your Honor, today you disrespected not just a medal, but everything that medal represents. Courage, sacrifice, honor. Don't any of these mean anything to you? Judge Whitmore tried to speak, but Torres continued. Commander Emory doesn't wear that medal for show. That medal sits on the chest of a man who brought 23 families, their sons, fathers, brothers, home. It might be just a piece of metal to you, but to us, it's sacred. At that moment, the courtroom doors opened again. This time it wasn't just one person entering, a group of 12. All veterans, all different ages, all from different wars, but they all had one thing in common, the determination in their eyes. The oldest, a man about 85, stepped forward. He was a Korean War veteran. Your Honor, he said, we're here too, for Commander Emory. A Vietnam veteran woman spoke next. That medal is our faith. A Gulf War veteran added, that medal is our honor. An Afghanistan veteran, that medal is our identity. Judge Whitmore no longer knew what to do. Everyone in the room was standing. Veterans, families, ordinary citizens, they all supported Joseph Emory. Admiral Richardson spoke the final words. Your Honor, you made a mistake today. This mistake harmed not only you, but the justice system as well. I hope you learn from it. The Admiral turned to Joseph. Commander, if you're ready, we can leave. Joseph nodded, but before leaving, he looked at the judge one last time. There was no anger in that look. There was disappointment. Your Honor, Joseph said, I don't wear this medal for show. I wear it to remember my fallen comrades. If this seems like showmanship to you, the problem isn't with me, it's with you. Joseph left, followed by the Admiral, Torres, the other veterans. The room slowly emptied. When Judge Whitmore was alone, he read the document in his hand again. There was Joseph Emory's complete file. His operation in Vietnam, the soldiers he saved, the wounds he sustained, everything. And at that moment he realized, that day he had humiliated one of America's greatest heroes. The next day, local newspapers ran the story as front-page news. Judge humiliates Medal of Honor recipient. National media picked up the story. The video went viral on social media. A week later, the Judicial Ethics Board launched an investigation. 2 weeks later, Judge Whitmore was forced to resign. His 20-year career had ended with a single sentence. Joseph Emory returned to his silence. He never gave interviews, never made statements. But now the townspeople saw him differently. When shopping at the market, people approached him with respect. Children waved at him. A month later, the local school invited him to speak on Veterans Day. Joseph thought long and hard, then accepted. That day, he told the children who filled the school auditorium, medals aren't important, children. What's important is doing what's right. I didn't earn that medal for myself. I earned it for my comrades, and if I found myself in that situation again, I would do the same thing. A child asked, Uncle, were you sad when the judge was mean to you? Joseph smiled. I wasn't sad, son, because whether I have that medal or not, the honor inside me doesn't change. Real honor isn't in the piece of metal you carry on your chest, it's in the values you carry in your heart. This story was viewed millions of times on social media. The hashtag #RespectOurVeterans became trending. But most importantly, Joseph Emory's message spread. Real heroes live quietly, they only emerge when necessary. Judge Harold Whitmore disappeared. He moved to another state, opened a law office, but he could never forget that day. Because that day, when he ordered the medal to be removed, he actually removed his own career. This story shows us that respect is earned, not given. Joseph Emory had earned that medal with his courage, and that day in the courtroom, by showing courage again, he reminded everyone what really matters. Real heroes don't boast, they just serve. And sometimes, when they're wronged, their brothers come to defend them. Have you ever witnessed such a situation? Have you seen a veteran being disrespected? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you believe stories like this need to be heard, don't forget to subscribe.